up, dudes?
Just a couple quick housekeeping notes here before we get into the meat of today's show. First off, the show is now on services such as iTunes and Pocket Casts and also Stitcher, so you can search for us. We do also have an RSS feed that you can subscribe to, and you will find the links for all 4 of those in the post on TechnoBuffalo for this episode. Also, thank you to everyone for the really positive support we got after last week's show. We are very excited to be doing this on video now, and we're glad that you're all enjoying it as well, and please keep the feedback coming. With all the housekeeping out of the way, we're going to dive into something. I think we can all agree that March 18th may be the day we can all write down on the calendars, hey, we finally entered the future.
Was the hoverboard announced and I wasn't there?
Yes. Well, okay, the hoverboard still's not here, nor are flying cars.
Oh, too bad.
But all sorts of other nifty things happened.
Yeah.
So let's go around the table here, and we're going to start with mobile. Todd, what happened yesterday that was so exciting?
Oh, we got, well, as I was rushing out the door to a meeting, we had Android Wear was announced, which was, it's Google's smartwatch platform for wearables. Actually, I don't even know if it's going to be limited to smartwatches, really. Like, it could potentially be used for anything. But for smartwatches, we'll say for now.
Belts.
And then Moto 360. Yeah. I don't know, like, the potential gets there for all kinds of stuff, right?
Sure.
Devices. But then Motorola announced the Moto 360, which is coming later this year, and the G-Watch from LG.
I think
sort of teased too.
The Moto 360 was just aesthetically speaking, in the I don't know if they're concept pieces or whatever, was gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now I think it very much is a concept piece, which is, you know, I think I was talking about earlier, is kind of annoying. Now you're like, all these companies are like, oh, here, check out this product, but you can't buy it now. It's coming later, and this is sort of what it looks like. I mean, I really want to see like a tangible product, but it looks amazing.
I want a price point. How much, Todd? Yeah. How much is the Galaxy Gear? I guess or the Pebble even?
Pebble's $149, but you can also get the Pebble Steel for what, $199. I think it still is. Okay. So I would say these are going to come in at like probably $200 to $300. That's fine.
And it all seems to be piggybacking on the Google Now stuff.
Yes, yeah. So it's totally based on Google Now, which is sort of location aware, so you can get alerts and weather, and then but also tell you about like sports scores and things you're interested in, and then also voice commands is a huge part of Google Now. So
Google Now,
speaking to your device.
Google Now has become almost creepy sometimes. Like it's like you're 7 really minutes from your house. How's that feel?
Right. And the thing is too, it's also not perfect yet. I mean, if I Google something randomly, like where is like the office location or something in Irvine, it'll say like it's going to take you forever to get to Irvine, California. Like, I'm not trying to go there right now.
Yeah. No, I think it is interesting, and having that on a watch, I'm kind of two minds, and obviously I'm not the mobile or gadget editor for us, but on one hand, I think they're gorgeous, and I'm really interested in the tech, but on the other hand, I'm kind of like, is this a utility? Is this something that I'll actually use, or is it something that'll just kind of get in my way, or be that one-time purchase that I never...
Let's Sean. Let's get Sean in on this.
So, at CES, I saw all the rest of the staff wearing Pebble watches, and I was like, oh, okay, those are kind of cool. So Todd said he had a spare, and for those of you watching on the video show...
Where's my spare, Todd?
I know.
I didn't know how much I would actually end up using this. I've worn it every single day since Todd sent it to me, and I find it amazingly useful.
What's been the thing that you use it most for?
I don't take my phone out of my pocket nearly as much now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to a little bit more slyly, if something comes in while I'm talking to somebody, it's a lot easier to just look down real quick. Driving is fantastic because if I get a text, I don't care about emails while I'm driving. If I get a text, and I never ever reply text when I'm driving, but
good.
Your hands are up on the steering wheel. I can just go, okay, and the name is in bold, so I can see who it is. If it's, a friend, fine, they'll wait till I get to where I'm going. If I'm driving somewhere and the office needs me, I can go, oh, it's John. I pull over and I reply then.
Yeah.
But I'm never tempted to look at my phone. And yes, this probably is still not 100% safe. I fully admit that, but it's a lot safer than pulling my phone out.
I agree.
So yeah, I've used the heck out of this thing since I got it. Now, but like you, Joy, I may not be the use case. Like one day you and I were discussing Twitter, and I'm definitely a power Twitter user because of the way I set my Twitter up on TweetDeck. And with gadgets, I'm a power user. For those of you listening to audio, I'm making air quotes. So, yeah, I know that the general population probably is not going to be as interested in this as I am. And I think that's the big question. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter yesterday about, well, doesn't this totally defeat the purpose of, we got rid of watches with our smartphones?
We didn't get rid of watch, man. Look.
No. Yeah, where's mine? I put mine on for the show, but I usually wear a regular watch too. I mean, not also.
Maybe that's partially why. I see a question over here about preference between the LG G and the Moto 360. The LG G, that's the square one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just based on the watch I'm wearing now, like I prefer really traditional watches. So
yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, that's I looked at the Moto 360, and I think, Sean, you saw me tweet this. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen a smartwatch and thought, okay, I could get into this, and it's because of how classic it looks.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to make it more appealing to a wider audience.
Now, when I used to wear watches, I used to wear a watch every single day. They were all round, however, they all had Marvin the Martian on them or Pinky in the Brain. So if the Moto 360 will allow me to put, Animaniacs images on my watch, I'm all for it.
Whack on the watch.
No, I think that's interesting, though, because I think the whole thing was that a lot of people moved away from wearing watches because they were a single-use case item.
Sure, I wear my watch. This is gonna make me sound ridiculous, but I wear my watch as an accessory. It's not.
That's exactly. I'm the same way.
It's not. It's not like, man, I need to know the time. Like, I rarely look at my watch. I look at my phone faster than I look at my watch. But,
see, I used to look at my watch for the time, but I do wear it as an accessory. I actually have like a dozen watches that I wear.
Yeah, same here. But I mean, I never use it as a watch. So.
Okay, so here's another question from the audience. Do you think Pebble steel price will drop when more smartwatches are released?
They might have to. I think.
They might have to, but I think it also depends on what prices the new watches come in at. We're hearing that the LG G watch will be for the lower end. The Moto 360 is obviously going to be a bit of a higher end. So I think Pebble is going to have to take a wait and see approach here and see what is the market bearing now.
Yeah. We also have to see and assume that Pebble has an answer to these too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why would Pebble not be considering a color screen and more, robust interface? And I think we'll see that from them. And when that comes, we'll see the price drop of the Pebble steel and the existing.
I think the thing that the Google smartwatch, and if Apple makes one as well down the line, has over Pebble right now in regards to price stems from the fact that Google makes money on marketplace transactions, where Pebble's making money on their watch. So they can't afford to take a loss at selling the hardware close to or below breaking even, whereas if Apple makes one down the line or Google makes apps purchasable for the watch specifically, they'll make up any difference they would have lost in profit. So that might help, the Android Wear devices come in a little bit cheaper than, say,
that's a really good point.
The Pebble watch. So I think that's the difference. And there is no first-party Pebble moneymaker aside from the watch itself, right? Like, there's no augments you can buy for it or anything like that.
Well, yeah, there's a whole store, but I don't think they take a cut from developers. I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that is one thing. Well, real quick, let's get to this other question that's come in about the subject. When people are worried about our phones listening to us, why aren't we worried of Google now stalking us and reading our emails and such? Well, if you're using any Google product, they know everything about you.
I think this is a crazy subject in and of itself that kind of stems beyond just smartwatches. I think that watches are just one other way to glance at the life of a user. I think that companies like this have established a sense of trust that I think that we're all kind of, whether we're suspending our disbelief here or whatever, remains to be seen. But for now,
Google likes to say, "Don't be evil," right? So.
Right, but I think we're all kind of buying into that. Like, Google's not evil enough yet to where we're worried about it. And I say that half jokingly, but that's where it is. If you're the type of person who buys a smartwatch or who buys a smartphone or who uses the internet like we do, or Twitter or whatever else, you're kind of saying, I'm okay with my privacy being invaded a little bit. And that's a really crazy subject. Probably
sort of give it up too, right? Like, if you want Google now to know about you, to be useful, you have to say, yes, to give you access to the search queries I'm putting into maps, and you know the sports I like because I want to know the score.
Right. You just kind of have to trust that the company won't misuse that information, and so far I don't think that we've been slighted yet, but it is creepy and terrifying now.
Yeah. We have a question from Jacob Kleinman. I'm not sure I've ever heard that name before. I tweeted about this earlier, but I've been thinking about whether different shaped square/circle Android Wear watches will mean even more fragmentation. Thoughts?
Well, that's an interesting...
Yeah, possible, but I think when they set... I think there's only 2 options right now, right? And so that's... So if they keep it there, yeah, but then once... I mean, no, there's not that much fragmentation, right? It's just one or the other. But then I think as future designs come and you have sharper displays on watches because these are sort of relatively low resolution, then you do run into fragmentation issues. And the same thing with future software updates, right? As the processors inside get more powerful, you add more features, then the watches sort of need to be...
I think at launch we aren't going to see a whole lot of fragmentation, but down the road, yeah, it's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Unless you're a situation like Apple where they strictly control, what it's going to be on, and you only have to work with these parameters. But, it's like when you get into Android development, there was a picture that one developer published once of a table just littered with tablets and phones that they had to test their app on. Yeah, and so the possibility does exist for fragmentation down the road, but I think at the initial launch it's going to be pretty even.
Sure.
Okay, we're getting some more here. Let's see. What do you think will be after the wearable watches? I don't know.
Well, I think that's a good question because, it brings up a little bit of what I was talking about yesterday. What happens with Google Glass now? Because, sure, it's this augmented reality, but... So I probably wanted Google Glass because I wanted directions and to know about the world around me, but when that's on my wrist now, instead of on my face, which I think looks pretty dorky, then I have no reason to buy Google Glass anymore, and I'm wondering if they're cannibalizing their own work.
Google Glass's savior will be determined based on whether or not Google is able to find third-party manufacturers that can make Google Glasses look cool.
Yeah, like Warby Parker. So.
Or if Ray-Bans can step up and make a Google Glass that actually looks good, then it's no different than a watch. You know what I mean? In my book, it becomes a multi-purpose tool. It's an accessory. Yes, it looks good, but it's also really useful. As long as that happens, I think the Google Glass will be okay. But Todd, I do see what you're saying right now. To me, the average user, I'm not as engrossed in this stuff as you guys are simply because of my job function. But to me, the average user, Android Wear is more compelling than Google Glass right now. So.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions about Google Glass here, such as what plans do you think Google has for Google Glass? Do you think they will change the design to more of a normal look? They have to. They absolutely have to.
And they have to drop the price.
Yes, they have to drop the price as well. And do you think Android Wear will be brought to Google Glass, the consumer version, when it comes out? Possibly. I don't know. Because then otherwise you've got people developing for 2 different platforms. Now, one thing I did want to bring into this, and it does fit in somewhat, is that also announced yesterday was Sony's Project Morpheus.
Yeah.
Which is, Joey, that's your wheelhouse, so why don't you explain to the listeners what Project Morpheus is?
Yeah, that was actually announced in GDC after I kind of left for the day, so I played catch-up this morning. It's Sony's virtual reality headset. Right now, they're just getting it to developers. It's going to be going to developers soon, so the announcement wasn't as outward-facing as something that we might see at E3. This was more, this tech is coming, here's kind of what it can do, developers go nuts. It's a little bit like Oculus Rift. There are some differences, but the bullet points for the Morpheus, the VR headset for the PlayStation 4, it's going to be able to do 1080p, which is huge. It has, 360 degrees of motion detection, which is also awesome, and then a 90-degree field of view, which is pretty cool too. Mm-hmm. The other really interesting thing with Morpheus that I think kind of trumps the current state of Oculus Rift, when Morpheus is projected on a television, like say I'm using it right now, and Todd, you're chilling on my couch, on my television, instead of seeing that eating pizza, bro. Instead of seeing that like binocular display, that like the 2 circles, it's an actual standard television image, which means that the virtual reality experience isn't really hindered for other people in the room. It's pretty awesome looking, but in my mind, it's unproven tech. It needs software. Software sells hardware, so. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens there and the price point and everything else. But if any of the big 3 console manufacturers is going to do this well, it's going to be Sony. So.
Well, now there's been attempts at virtual reality before. Most of us remember the VR boy.
The Virtual Boy.
Virtual boy. Okay. Yes.
Virtua Boy.
Thank you. Do you think, Joey, that gamers are really that ready for virtual reality? Is it something they're really craving?
Okay, so we're looking at a possible 3D market burst here. 3D has tried to crack into gaming and cinema for decades upon decades. The 3DS has it built in, but if you talk to most 3DS users, they play with the 3D slider off 95% of the time. I think that virtual reality has the chance to go either way. Either users are going to adopt it because of the price point and the software. If they nail those two things, then I think we could see gamers kind of becoming obsessed with it and it being a new phenomenon. If it's too expensive and the software is not compelling, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, so, Oculus was so amazing. Like wearing that, I didn't want to like leave that virtual reality.
Yeah,
it was so fun, and I can't imagine what like these big, expansive world type games would be like. You know, when you could just run around and sort of see everything.
The possibilities here, and I know it sounds cliche, but the possibilities are almost limitless. It just has to do with pricing. 3D television was too expensive for the mass market to enjoy. It's just too expensive. So without the install base, you had developers making nothing compelling for it. Right?
All right, Joey. Here's the seller. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Tumbleweed drifting right by my face. Oh my God, Sean! I'd be so happy. Yeah.
Just riding into the sunset with a virtual reality helmet.
Yes.
Oh man, if they were like, and it's $70. We'd be like, oh my God.
No, it's gonna. You've hit the nail on the head, Joe. The pricing is what's going to determine this. Even maybe more so than the software, because if it comes in at $399, $499, the price of a console, which is quite possible.
That's my dog.
Then that could be a definite detractor. I mean, and it's going to definitely impact sales.
See, I would totally drop $499 on the Oculus Rift. If I could buy what I saw at CES, oh man.
I don't think
because you know what?
With the Oculus Rift, Todd, I don't think that's going to be necessary, man. I don't think $499 is going to be necessary.
I know, but it's like a diet plan too. Like, I wouldn't do anything before.
Oh man, get the Oculus Rift and then that like octagon trackpad that you stand on.
Yeah,
man.
My name is Todd Hazelton. I got.
No, I'm just saying because I'd be like, I can't eat right now. I'm still stuck in this game. My wife would have to come home from work and like unplug me.
Oh man.
No, you're staying there in the Oculus Rift, and she's just feeding it into your mouth. Like, this is so real. I can taste it.
I think it's super interesting. I think virtual reality, like just all this wearable tech stuff, and I know that it's two different segments on the same topic, but it's super, super compelling. And I think that for both, it wholly depends on entry price. Right? I mean, that's what's keeping people away from Google Glass right now. How much is it?
$1,500.
And we are getting some questions here about pricing.
Let's hit them.
Yep. What is the price of Google Glass currently? Right now for the Explorers, it's $1,500, but they haven't announced yet what the mass market price will be. But it's not going to be cheap. Unfortunately.
Let's talk about regular Ray-Ban glasses, sometimes costing hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Now put a computer in it.
Well,
exactly.
I don't buy name brand frames, and they still run me $150, $175 for frames.
Sure,
it's ridiculous.
You're gonna have a generic line of Google frames, I think, but it's still gonna be expensive.
Yeah. So. Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. And then we had a question here about the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Rift is expensive as hell. That's but do you think they shouldn't make a cheaper version?
Well, that's the goal, right? Like they said.
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah. And that's what everyone has to remember is that when a technology first comes along, you've got the higher price for the early adopters, and it's the early adopters that make those purchases that help fund the company to go forward and be able to buy in mass, which brings the price down for the general consumer. So yeah, while things are always expensive when they first come out, then you have to let people like us, the tech geeks, the first adopters, you have to let us buy the stuff to make it cheap.
Oculus, they're not trying to make their hardware the Ferrari of gaming. It's not going to be this uber expensive thing that only the elite can afford. That wouldn't do them any services. So it will come down, absolutely.
Yeah, they want to be mass market. And I think the other thing is, too, they're expensive to start because developers buy it, and it's worth it for them because then they create the software and hopefully make their money back. It's probably much.
Yeah. But I think the whole thing here is we have to look at, we had two major announcements yesterday that were very exciting, and they are two fairly new markets. Yes, in wearable watches there's already been, the Pebble and the original Galaxy Gear, but we're going into markets that are not 100% proven yet to even have anyone desiring them.
Yeah, I think that you have to remember that the people watching this show and us, the writers for sites like TechnoBuffalo, we represent a super tiny sliver of the market. So while we're interested in it, I don't think that our dollars are enough to facilitate the existence of these things on the mass market yet. I'm geeking out over smartwatches, but I don't know if my dad is, or my wife, or my friends.
Exactly.
I think that's where Apple might come in with HealthBook and stuff, and when you add a reason, like when you can actually see your health stats and find out more about yourself on these devices, then I think, that opens up a whole new market, right? And I think that's where Apple kind of might slaughter away.
That's where Nintendo's going. I think we're going to see Apple and Nintendo clash on that front in the near future. Nintendo's focusing on wearable fitness tech as well. So if you get two heavy hitters like that going at it in a field that, Nintendo's already proven that it can get on the tech bus pretty well with Wii Fit. We'll see what happens. It's really compelling and interesting, though.
Do you think Google Wearables is just watches?
Well, that's what I was saying. I think yes to start, but I think it opens up for anything.
I could see it on T-shirts. I could see it on hats. I'm not even kidding, man. Why not?
No, I know. In the future, there's theories that your own body heat could power some of these devices.
Oh, that's nerdy and awesome. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's like that's not this year or next year, but
Oh man.
Okay, let me date my age again for everyone. Does anyone else here remember the Hypercolor T-shirts?
Yeah, they were basically mood rings for your body.
Yeah, unless you're someone like me who always runs hot, then it was just always the hot color. But this was a very baseline technology of body heat, changing the color of your shirt.
Right.
So that's an interesting idea. A Android Wear shirt that somehow detects.
It detects your body heat and then adjusts climate control in your car and house.
Theoretically too, like why not a ring? We've seen those kind of NFC rings.
Yeah, sure. If my wedding band somehow got some awesome tech in it, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
If they make a partnership with DC Comics, and I can have a Green Lantern ring.
There you go.
Oh man.
And I can charge it each night by saying in brightest day, in blackest night.
Thank you.
I won't.
You nerd.
I think the wrist just makes the most sense for the size of the screen and stuff like that, though.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're seeing watches. Because why not add a watch? I have a Fitbit Force, and it has a watch too.
Yeah, I think that if any market is in trouble with these smartwatches, it's those fitness bands. I think that they're the ones that have the most to be worried about.
Yeah, except for what we don't know is battery life on all of these things. Pebble's really good. It gets.
They're going to make tremendous battery life. The tech is getting
so long as it's there.
Yeah.
But that's why these fitness bands are great, because they do last for ever.
Yeah, but if they can create a fitness track, in that little Android Wear promo video that was running yesterday, that chick burned 50 calories or something, but having that at my disposal at all times is awesome. So
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Here's another. This is more of a statement than a question. Google has a track record of releasing things at very competitive price point, and since the general public don't have $600 and whatnot to buy things, they will probably go for cheaper things. They do what they want. Yes, Google does have a good track record with that. If you look at the Nexus 5, the Nexus 7, the soon-to-be deceased Nexus 10, they came out at prices that were reasonable, and I think that eventually the Android Wear products. Now, here's the sticky point, though. The LG Watch and the Motorola Watch are not Nexus-type devices. They are products coming from those companies, so they're going to get to set the prices.
I think, and going off of, I think this is Nathan's statement, Google has always shown at least an awareness of price competition, and they tend to offer things that meet the needs of multiple markets. So yes, they might have that $1,500 glass experience right now that's meeting the needs of a very high-end market, but they're also definitely going to produce something that you and me can afford as well. So, I mean, their awareness is promising, I think, at the very least.
It's a good point. And it's Amazon's model, too, where you sort of sell the hardware probably super low margin like they do with their Kindle Fire and then make your money back when they buy apps.
Amazon's always been really good. Amazon's always been really good at making good products out of cheap stuff, I think. And part of that is why things are so cheap for them. Like I can't believe they're selling Kindles for less than $100 right now. That's just awesome. But you know, they bank on the fact that you're going to go book crazy and whatever. So.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got a question here. What do you think of the Kickstarter startup Halo Band? Is bracelets the next division of wearables? I'm actually not familiar with this Kickstarter. Have either of you heard about it?
Mm-mm.
I'll Google it.
I'll Google it.
But I mean, bracelets.
Talk to your watch.
I mean, isn't a watch kind of a bracelet?
Yeah, it is. I think I've heard something about this. Unfortunately,
I actually don't see it.
I wish we could follow every Kickstarter out there, but
yeah,
we would have to hire someone just to follow Kickstarter all day.
Don't want that job.
I do think there is going to be an expansion past watches, past glasses. You know, where exactly it's going, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if someday somebody goes, here's smart sneakers.
Why not, right? Why not?
They talk to your phone via Bluetooth. They measure the pressure you're applying to your feet when you walk.
Nike did that with the iPhone. There's a shoe that has like a sensor that you put in the tongue of the shoe itself.
Right, but yeah, I'm talking about being built into the shoe itself. You
Whatever, Sean. It already exists. You have no original thoughts.
Sorry, man. But no, I do think they're going to expand into more products than just what we already know out there.
Yeah.
Let me look through here real quick. Do you think the future of gaming is VR?
This is a lot like the mobile gaming question. I think that couch-based, at least in contemporary time, and I mean like the last 100 years, couch-based activities are the center of home life for a lot of people. I don't see that changing, and virtual reality will maybe become an extra rung of gaming, but I don't see it being the new it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Do you think Android Wear Google will finally release more functionality globally? I was not aware. Todd, do you know, is Android Wear only limited to the U.S. right now?
I don't think they said anything on that front. I'm sure their goal is to go global.
Google does everything globally, so if it's not there now, it will be.
Yeah, I mean, Chromecast today just hit 11 new countries, so it took a while, but.
Exactly. Let's see here. Samsung is one of the partners to make Android Wear. Do you think that Samsung will prefer to use their own Tizen OS for their wearables over using Android Wear?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they definitely want to use Tizen, and that's why they're doing that. But I think they've seen a lot of success with Android. Why not try it? I think one of the funniest things that these companies say, or that they say regularly, is, well, we did it because we can. So you'll see, I'm sure, Tizen OS continue. Samsung's probably not going to shut it down now. They're just sort of building that out. But they're also not going to just ignore Android Wear because they can use it, so they're probably going to. I mean, it'd be stupid not to.
Here's a similar question. Do you think Samsung will make mini smartwatches wearables like what they do with their phones, but focus on one main lineup? I think it's too early to tell. I think
we certainly will. I mean, Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo are examples of a lineup in the wearable market, and then the Gear Fit. So you have this Gear line that goes, with the Galaxy line. So several.
Okay, and one last wearables question, then we'll get into the grab bag of questions that have been coming in, which there are a few of them.
Yeah, so now's your chance to submit anything.
Yes. We are coming up to that point, so please feel free to ask questions about any topic for the end of the show. What do you think of fitness wearables such as Samsung's Galaxy Fit? Do you think they are headed in a direction to bring fitness apps to all wearables? Yes.
Yeah, we kind of hit on this a little bit there. I personally think that the fitness wearables the single-purpose fitness wearables are going to be in trouble within the next few years, simply because if this Android Wear stuff takes off, it's going to, people don't wear pedometers very often anymore because their phones do that. Like, it's stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're going to be cannibalized by by Android Wear.
Yeah.
Okay, one last one here. Thoughts on possible iWatch? Who knows?
I mean, it has to. Apple has to answer this. We've seen enough. It sounds like the guys at 9 to 5 Mac know what they're doing, and they've seen HealthBook. I see no reason why Apple wouldn't launch iWatch.
Yeah, and there's been some question is maybe Apple a little too late to the game. They're Apple. I hate to put it that way. They're only focusing on. I'm sure they're only focusing on the iWatch working with the iPhone.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter if they're late to the game.
Exactly.
Because their market's already out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Android Wear is not going to work with the iPhone, so it's going to be interesting. Okay, so here we are into the grab bag. What do you think about 4K display? If you're talking on televisions, I think it's absolutely gorgeous, but I don't think there's enough content out there yet to warrant the purchase. That's for sure.
I honestly have no interest in 4K. Is that weird? I just don't.
No, it's not weird. But although, I mean, when I was at CES this year, I got to see an 8K display. I'll say that Joey, you would have appreciated this. The demo video they were running was all shots from around Japan, shot in 8K.
Cool. That's pretty neat.
And it was almost like hyper reality. You couldn't tell that it was almost too realistic. And it's absolutely gorgeous. But that brings up the question, okay, so 4Ks are out there, they're too expensive. By the time their price comes down, here come the 8Ks. Where does the cycle stop?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. So 4K is interesting, but until there's more content out there, I wouldn't worry about it. What do you think of the newly announced Oppo Find 7? I think that's got a ridiculous camera.
Well, it's what is it, 13 megapixel sensor? It just has software that allows you to shoot 50 megapixel photos by like super zooming in.
Whoa,
it seems neat.
Fancy.
I'm not. Quad HD display though. On the topic, I just don't see a real need.
That's true. Would you ever consider changing your name to Bob? Yes, but only if I could spell little b, little o, big B.
No, I like Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of happy with our names. And here's another question. What's the deal with the Oppo Find 7 50
megapixel? That's the one I just answered, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's nuts, and it's another example of people confusing the number of megapixels with the quality.
Todd?
And also, it's not a 50 megapixel sensor.
Give me the rundown, man, because I know nothing about this.
So from what I understand, it's a 13 megapixel sensor that's just capable using software of creating a 50 megapixel photo for like super zoom.
How?
That's a good question. I'm not an engineer. And honestly, I haven't seen the phone. I haven't talked to Oppo. I don't know anything about it. But I just know that that's how it works.
Cool.
Yeah, with a 13 megapixel sensor, the 50 megapixels are going to look grainy as anything.
That's my guess.
I mean, we won't know until we actually try it out for ourselves, but that would be my guess. Let's see here. What do you think about the rumors about the new HTC One camera? Do you think that not switching to more traditional cameras will hold them back with the market this year? Todd, this is definitely in your...
No, I don't think they'll be held back in the market. I think they put a lot of emphasis on the quality of the pictures that their phones can take. I think the 4 ultra-pixel camera on the HTC One was great, but I do admit it really degraded the quality when you tried to zoom in. And I think I saw a rumor, right, like someone said there's also a 13 megapixel camera on there. I don't know, so we'll see. But I think, from everybody I know, my wife has an HTC One, my sister has one, they all love the camera. So I don't think that, not changing the camera is going to affect them in any bad way. I mean, consumers are like, is the camera good? And the guy at the store is like, yeah, it's pretty good. Then they buy it. I mean, that's honestly what happens for like a regular consumer.
Yeah,
it's not like it was a bad camera by any means. I think it was a great one.
What do you guys think of Oppo Find 7's faster charging technology? Do you think it will lower the battery life? Again, that's we have to wait until we actually get our hands on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but Samsung and Sony both do this too, and it doesn't affect the battery life. The only problem is you need to use their charger. So with the Galaxy Note 3 and the S4, I think, and the Xperia Z1, you need to use their chargers. So when you're at a friend's house and use something else, not only does it charge slower, sometimes it charges even slower than a regular device, and a lot of times the battery drains a lot quicker too. So there's some downsides to this.
Yeah. When do you think manufacturers will make 4K phones? Oppo Find 7.
This year, I guess, yeah.
Yep.
It's Quad HD, right?
So. Really off topic, are any of you guys excited for Star Wars Episode 7 and the other new films? As much as I dislike the prequel trilogy, I don't hate the prequel trilogy like a lot of people. I disliked it.
Whoa.
I'm not praising it.
Oh gosh, saying that the thing is anything more than a turd is wrong.
I didn't like it.
Awful. Just awful.
Hey, you didn't enjoy watching congressional debate?
Here's my 2 cents on Star Wars and the prequels and where I hope the new ones go. The original Star Wars films were awesome because they followed a group of 3 or 4 really tight-knit heroes in their quest in this much bigger picture. The original prequels, like the ones that George Lucas followed up with, they tried to zoom out and cover C-SPAN in space, and then
Yes.
throw a few heroes and villains into it that we had no reason to identify with them at all. If episodes 7, 8, 9 follow that core dynamic of heroes in a much bigger picture, those flicks are gonna be awesome. Star Wars is little more than buddy cop in space with magic. That's how it should work. That's how those films work. Doing anything else is just silly. So as long as they stick to basics, I think they could be awesome.
I'm sorry. I want at least one scene in a Senate. It just has to happen.
No, the Senate better be on fire, and there better be a scene where old Luke and old Han high five. That needs to happen.
No, I'm excited for him. I can vividly remember the first time I saw Star Wars before it was called A New Hope at a midnight showing in Phoenix in September 1977. So
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I was 6 years old, and the only ticket my family could get was to a midnight showing. So yes, a 6-year-old
Nice.
finally saw Star Wars at midnight and got home at like 3 a.m. But we finally saw it. How do you feel about the rumors the Nexus program is going away?
I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it because it's sort of Google's. Like when you go into a Best Buy now and you see the Google stand, it's sort of like their way to promote Android and their products, and that makes a lot of sense to consumers. Like Nexus was once for developers, and now it's a consumer-facing brand. And I think then we see like the Google Play Edition devices that are sort of more for developers. I'm not sure. It could go away, sure. I just don't know why Google would have built it up recently than to just kill it off.
To stay on top of the market, do you think Google will release a Nexus 10 or a new Nexus tablet with a bigger screen? We're actually hearing rumors of, what is that, 8.9, Todd?
Yeah, something like that. An HTC or Asus.
Yeah, I think
hard
the
to
10. I don't think the 10's coming back. I
wonder how popular that was. Who knows?
Well, I mean, when you're in the 10 range, though, it's obvious. The iPad controls that market, so why not go for other sectors?
Makes sense.
What is the song that is used before the podcast begins in the audio-only stream? It is royalty-free Zoot Suit music.
Yeah, it was the one that I hated least out of the list of 10 that Sean gave me.
I spent almost an entire day looking for music, and I send the links to Joey, and that's horrible. Oh, I hate it.
Well, I think
this one's even worse.
because I was listening to them for the first time in a video call with Sean, so he just hears me going, ugh,
Ugh.
oh, God.
Just like,
Made me feel great about all the work I put into finding all those
like
links.
Crappy elevator music.
medium garage.
That's what
John
you
Mayer.
get with royalty-free music.
That was so bad. Ugh.
I recently got a Note 3. How big do you think most companies will stop enlarging the screen? I think we're close. I mean, yeah, there's a couple companies that have done 7-inchers, and
Yeah, it's
I have a Mega 6.3 as a backup phone.
We can go bigger.
I use a Note 3, and it's like about as large as I'm willing to go. I think 5.56 in the United States is probably about as.
Excuse me, guys. My phone's ringing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, seriously. But in Asia,
Okay.
in the meetings I've had with these OEMs, Asia is a huge market for the big phones. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they'll keep going bigger there.
No, I promise you, Joey, that was not a real phone.
Yeah, sure. You would.
Well, it's 6.3, right? The Mega. That's pretty huge.
Yep. Okay, 2 more
Yeah,
questions
the
and
big
we'll
ones.
be done for today, folks. Do you think that all of those unofficial renders from the iPhone 6 with close to a bezel-less screen can be a reality? I can imagine Apple pulling off a 4.7-inch screen on a phone, not much larger than the iPhone 5 if that's the case. Now, first off, those are not leaked renders. Those are concept images. So those
Unofficial
are
renders, you said.
yeah, those are completely unofficial. Those are just imaginings by different artists. I do think, though, with a bezel-less display or near bezel-less display, that Apple could pull off a 4.7 in close to the same physical space as the iPhone 5S. I think they're probably going to go there. I think they almost have to.
Sure. Yeah. It'd be cool, but the only thing is, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my phone. You'd have to get rid of the home button and stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be the big question mark, is the home button. I don't know. We'll probably find out in September.
I think it'd be awesome, though. Bezel-less. Let's see it happen.
Yep. Joey, here's one for you. What do you think of the SimCity offline mode? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I actually got it with the patch yesterday. Put about 2 more hours into the game. It loads much faster now that it's doing it on my computer, not relying on the internet, which is awesome. I'm glad that Maxis and EA did it. I think they did it way too late. I think it should have been there at launch. I think that the community was basically pretty obvious and honest when they announced that it was online only, and we all went, please, dear God, no. And then they released it anyway. They deserved all of the negative energy that they got for that, and then by saying that, the whole thing was a marketing nightmare for EA and Maxis. Now that it's here, I'm glad, but I just...
I don't even play it anymore.
Too little, too late, man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Too little, too late. I am someone that put well over 100 hours into SimCity 4. I have like 50 or 60 hours into the Super Nintendo version of SimCity, of all things. But the missing... I stopped at 25 with this SimCity. I don't see myself going too much further than that, so...
All right, one final question, and this could be a hot topic. What's the best type of cake?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I got, my mom makes an angel food cake. Do you guys know what angel food cake is?
Yeah, of course.
It's that really light, fluffy cake batter. Builds that awesome cake, and then she puts crumbled up Heath bar on the inside and the white vanilla icing on top. Whoo!
Damn, that might take the cake.
Might take the cake.
My favorite's chocolate on chocolate on chocolate, and at my wedding, we couldn't do that. We had to have a vanilla frosting for whatever reason to match the flowers or something.
Did you get a groom's cake at your wedding, Todd?
No, I guess I should have.
My wife loves me, and she got me a groom's cake. She got me a cookie cake.
Nice.
Oh man, it was so awesome. So
I wanted chocolate on chocolate on chocolate.
No, we had the traditional multi-tiered wedding cake, and then you see all the groomsmen chilling out next to the goddamn cookie cake.
I'm boring. I actually like just plain white cake with it. All I care about is how good the frosting is.
Yeah, frosting's a key.
Yeah, I like cream cheese, like the cream frosting.
Cream cheese frosting.
On like what's the red cake or whatever it's called?
Red velvet. Oh red man, velvet, my friend made red wine cupcakes.
Cool.
So it was chocolate, but then the icing and the chocolate was actually made with a Merlot. Whew!
Wow.
Just felt like just a drunk wino homeless man, like just stuffing chocolate into my face. It's so good.
Okay, well that question got a lot more answers than I expected.
Don't mess with cake, Sean.
Yeah.
Well, having never been married, I haven't had a groom's cake, so. Whenever I hear groom's cake, I think of that groom's cake in Steel Magnolias, the red velvet cake that's shaped like an armadillo. So when you cut it, it looks like you've dissected an armadillo. Anyway, well, thank you all for joining us today. As I said at the top of the show, you can now find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts. You can also subscribe via RSS feed. So please get out there, subscribe to it, and please continue to leave comments and give us your feedback on what you think of the show. And we're trying some new things, and we're pretty happy with it, but of course it all matters what exactly you think. So for this episode, I've been Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by the executive editor of gaming, Joey Davidson.
Thanks, guys.
And the executive editor of mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see you back here next week at the very same time, so mark it on your calendars, folks. That will be on Wednesdays at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Till then, we'll see you on the other side. Take it easy, everyone.